Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew, and if you're watching this video, then you're probably trying to figure out how to use PowerShell and make changes on your Meraki cloud through their API. I created this video because I needed to find a way to quickly and easily change numerous Meraki units without having to manually input them. I searched online and wasn't able to find a lot of information on using the Meraki API with PowerShell. Through some trial and error, I was able to figure out a way to make it work, and I'm hoping this video can help save somebody some time. Just a little disclaimer here, I'm not a professional programmer. No doubt there's more efficient ways to do what I've done. It's just the way I figured out how to make it work. That being said, before you try to do anything with a production network, make sure all the changes are peer-reviewed and test it before ever attempting to implement. The first thing you're going to need to do is make sure that Meraki API is allowed and that you have a API key issued. So you'll go into your organization and then you'll click on Settings. You'll scroll on down and you'll find Dashboard API Access. Right here, just click Enable and then head over to your profile. And this is my profile, so come down here and it looks like, I got 2 API keys issued, but this is where you would create them and put in API keys. Okay, after you get that part figured out, you're going to go ahead and move over to PowerShell ISE. You don't have to use PowerShell ISE, but for the purposes of design, we're using it. You could just use the regular PowerShell. Either way, it's important to make sure you run it as an administrator. So right now, if you run a script, more likely than not, you're going to run into an error kind of like this one. And basically, the execution policy is not allowing this script to run for various reasons. It's a good security setup, but for at least the time while you're running these scripts, you want to go ahead and disable that. So we input this command, set execution policy remote sign. Basically allows remotely signed scripts to run. And so we got that, so now it can run just fine. So just to give you a little background, the reason I did this is we're trying to move and put port security on all of our Merakis because we were finding a lot of unauthorized devices on our corporate network, stuff like that. And so we've utilized the API for other things in the past, but in particular for the port security, you have to establish radius servers and in the settings, and there's really no way to do that through the API. So we reached out to tech support and asked them what the best way to do it. And they told us there wasn't a way to do it through the API and that the best way to do it is to basically have somebody hand jam every single one of those networks. And while that will work, it's not really the best utilization of our time. And so I started looking at some alternate ideas. So in this particular case, what I've done is I've created a template device with all the right settings. And we're copying that device. We extract all of the unique fields from the device that we're setting up. So we take our serial, our IP, our, network ID, network name, all that kind of stuff. And we pull that into variables. Then we make a copy. And then we apply all those unique values back into the device, and there we go. We got everything the way we wanted it. I wish it was as simple as it sounds, but it's not quite. So I'm just going to go down here, and we'll jump around a little bit, but just go line by line. So this first variable I'm establishing is the log file location. And basically what I'm doing is I'm just saying in the directory we're running, that's where we should have a log file. Then I'm just basically nulling out some of these values. Well, I'm not nulling them out. I'm setting them to basically a blank space. And then what we're going to do is we're going to check and see if the log file exists. And if the log file exists, variable is not equal to true, we'll go ahead and create the log file. And the beauty of this is so that we can go back and look at the ones that failed and the ones succeeded and just kind of figure it out if we had to clean it up. Because if we're going to run these in series, like 100 of them, we may not want to sit there and just actively watch every single one of them go by on the screen. And because we want to write the files to log, we've gone ahead and included this function here. This just allows us to quickly and easily apply a log to the file. The other thing I'm doing here is I'm trying to do some error handling. So everything is inside this try bracket. And so if it errors, it'll come down here and it'll be caught by this and run these. And so all this is doing is it's going, oh, there was an error. The error message generated gives us all our variables. And then we go ahead and clear out the body variable just so it doesn't get mixed up in the next attempt. We write that error message to the log. Then we write it to the screen that there was an error. And then we go ahead and just set that error message to like a space. And we go ahead and get rid of that JSON object they're going to be generating later, just because that's a pretty important array we're using to do our search. So, and I apologize, I kind of jumped the gun. So normally, if I wasn't running this thing in the ISE, I would have arguments set up. And so I would have this argument 0, the first argument, would define our API value. And then argument 2, or argument 1 in this case actually, would establish what we're searching for. And specifically, we're looking for something in the network name. In this case, I've manually entered those. And so I've just commented these out. But, obviously in production use, we would pull those comments off. So after we do all that, then we're going to come down here and we're going to see if the JSON file, well, the array that is in a JSON format, if it's populated, basically. So we're going to go, if it's less than 1 in length, then we know it's not populated. And so to go ahead and populate it. And so the reason we do this is just so that every time we run this, we're going to run them in series. We don't necessarily need to repopulate every single time, because the only thing that's changing are the new devices, and we're not changing those. So in here, we're going to do invoked web request. And you'll notice that right here, I don't have API, I have in and 3 numbers. And so in your case, it's going to be different than mine. So you'll just log into your dashboard and literally you look at your URL and you'll see an in and 3 numbers. And that'll be the number you use here. PowerShell does not like the redirect on the API redirecting to your in number. So I just put it straight in. After that, obviously API version 0, organizations, you'll put your organization number in, the networks. With that request, you're going to pass a header with your API key, which we've got right here. And then basically we're pulling down, this is pulling down every single network we have built on this Meraki organization. So we take that information, we convert it into the JSON object. And so obviously our search earlier, if it was populated, we would just skip over this. So then after that, we're going to do a for I loop. And so basically what we're going to do is, what this is doing is first bit is setting I to 0. And then we're going to do if I is equal to or less than the number of or objects we have in the array. And we're going to +1 each run. We're going to +1 to the I variable on each run. In this case, we're searching for Matthew, which is my name. So we come through here and basically we just, for each value in the array, we just go through until we find it. Once we find it, we go ahead and we're going to set this. So we're going to go ahead and set the I value to 999. We're going to extract all the information we need, so the network ID and the network name. And after that, we just move on. So the loop will go through until it finds the name. It will throw an error if for whatever reason that isn't in there. And so you'll see that when you look at your error that we generate, it's not going to have anything really populated into it because it didn't have anything to pull yet. So you know that it failed at this stage. So from here on, we're going to go through and basically we're building all of our pulls. well, I say pulls, all the information we're extracting. So in this case, we got the URI string here, and this is basically the one that's going to be the same every single time. And then we go ahead and we add in, we concatenate. I probably said that wrong, but then I apologize. The variable in with your strings, and then you do another Invoke-REST, and we pull it down. Obviously, we still use the header for the API key, and that'll get us the serial. And so here we'll store the serial variable. We move on. We basically do the same thing for the IP values, for subnet. So after we get done with all of that, we have all our kind of unique values. We got our serial, our IP, subnet, scope, all that stuff. So then we unclaim the serial number from the network. So, and that's what we're doing right here with this one, is we're sending in this case, a post to remove that serial number from this network. And then after we're done with that, we then send a method delete to remove the network. And so once that network's deleted, so we don't have to worry about duplicates, we create a copy of a network, in this case, the template we're set up. And you look here, and the string's a little different because you're gonna have the same URI stuff, but then you'll do that question mark, name equals, network name, and then in this case we're doing type appliance because minor appliances, tags null, time zone, Los Angeles. Honestly, it's just the default. I left it in there. We're going to copy from network ID. And this is the template we're copying from. And yeah, so then we do a post and we copy that. Once that comes out, it's going to generate some text. And from that, we can pull out the new network ID from that. And so we'll pull out the new network ID. And then we just go through and we just start applying all the unique information. So we apply the serial number back to the network, and then we apply the network settings. So our IP, our subnet, all that kind of stuff. The other thing that happens is when we change the IP and all that on that, it's going to disable the site-to-site VPN stuff that we're using. So we're going to come back in here, and what I'm using here is actually a here string. And it's just because this is a very picky, we got kind of a nested array set up here. So I just did a here string just because I could put my variable right in the middle there, populate the whole thing, and then we do a put, and we push that through, and we get all our network settings. Assuming we didn't get any errors at that point, I feel it's good. We go ahead and we start building our success message. And so we log that to our log, and then we actually type it on the screen. And then, of course, we're going to empty out our variable again. So obviously this catch wasn't run because we didn't have an error in this case. So then we just come down here and we start emptying out all the other variables. Okay, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how it runs. So I'll go ahead and execute. It's pulling down that. I mean, of course, all the networks, that's a pretty big file. And obviously we're just waiting because it's doing searching and loops, stuff like that. And there we go. We got our first feedback there. So what this is going to be the information that came from the new network we created. And then this is us updating the VPN settings. And this indicates there's a success. Like I said, this isn't perfect, and there are definitely better ways to do this. I'm just not a programmer by trade. I had a task, and I figured out a way to accomplish it. That being said, I'm going to try to continuously update this so that I can get it more efficient and run it a little better. I'm trying to work on my programming etiquette and indenting and stuff like that. I'm also going to go ahead and put a write-up about this particular script on my website. I'll break it down. You can look at the whole script. And in addition, I'll try to explain each section, like here, string, stuff like that. So it makes a little more sense. This is my first video I'm trying to do for YouTube, and I'm going to try to work on improving my quality of presenting. And what I'm presenting to people as I move along. If anybody has certain things they want to see done, I can certainly research them and try to do them. But for the most part, I'm trying to demonstrate things that I have done in my workplace. That being said, I hope this was useful, and everyone have a good day.